I hope I didn't scare you away yesterday. We were talking about some things that are very scary. We're talking about the day of the Lord. Now, we talked about how the day of the Lord actually means the day of the wrath or the day of the vengeance of our God. It's something that's coming. It's coming very suddenly. Now, the church isn't going to be here, but the day of the Lord is going to come. And it's going to come like a thief in the night. That reference there, or that phrase there, is not in reference to the return of Jesus or to the rapture of the church. That phrase there is in reference to the day of the Lord, the day of the vengeance of our God. And then it says, going back to verse number 3, the Apostle Paul writes these words, and he says that it'll come suddenly like labor pains upon a woman with child, and they will not escape. There's only one way to escape the wrath of God. There's only one way to escape the tribulation. I've heard people say, oh, you're one of those people that believe in the rapture of the church before the tribulation. That's just escapism. You got it right. Whoa! Credit to you. You got it right. You know what? This church, the Church of Jesus Christ, is going to escape this. But those who are still left behind, they will not escape the wrath or the vengeance of God that's coming for a 7-year period upon this earth. There is no escape. Now, if you're an unbeliever, there is still time for you to turn your life over to Jesus, to declare the lordship of Jesus over your life, and to receive forgiveness of sins. There's still time for you to do it. Do it now. Don't wait. Now I'm going to go on to verse 4, because Paul now turns his attention back to the church. In verse number 4 it says, but you, brethren, what's he doing? Now he's talking again to the believer. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, that the day would overtake you like a thief. Now what's he saying? You know that this day is not going to come to you like a thief. It's not going to come to you in a way, because you're not in darkness. You know what's going on. Now again, how do they know what's going on? They know it not because they've studied eschatology or the end times. They know it because of something that's been deposited and placed deep down on the inside of them. And brothers and sisters, you know it. You know it. You might try to deny it, but you know on the inside of you. And so the Apostle Paul says, you're not in darkness, that the day would overtake you like a thief. That day is not going to overtake us. Why? Because we're not going to be here. Now notice what he says, for you are all sons of light and sons of day. You are different than this world. You're different. You know what? The day that you surrendered your life over to Jesus, and you began to repent, you began to change your mind about who God was and what sin does, and a whole assortment of different things, you begin to change. You know what? You are different than the world. And the Apostle Paul is writing here, and he's saying, guys, this isn't going to happen to you because you're different. And he says, you are sons of light, and you are sons of the day. You are not of the night nor of the darkness. One thing that continues to amaze me is how many Christians try to live this thing of being as close to the world as they can get without falling over into sin. You know what usually happens, sadly? They usually fall into sin. Actually, you don't fall into sin, you walk into sin. And why is it? Because they want to be like the world. Brothers and sisters, listen to me. We are not like the world. We are sons of light. We are sons of the day, sons of light. We are different. We are not of the night. We are not of the darkness. And then the Apostle Paul goes on into verse number 6, and he says this: so let us not sleep as others do, but let us be alert and sober. What's Paul doing? Paul is telling the church that you need to do something. In this time before the rapture of the church, this is what you need to be doing. And so the Apostle Paul says, don't be asleep. Don't be asleep. Don't be like a person that doesn't know what's going on. You understand that every believer knows something on the inside. We know on the inside of us. But you know what? There's some believers that act like, well, I don't think it's going to ever happen. And what's happening? They're asleep. How many of you know that when you're asleep, you're not alert? Now, the Apostle Paul says you need to be alert, and this word alert actually means to be vigilant, to stand guard. This vigilance needs to come not so that you can make it into the rapture. No, this vigilance comes for the rest of the world. That you're alerting them and you're saying, hey, wake up, wake up, wake up. Something's coming. You know, if you saw a child standing in the middle of the street and you saw a semi-truck heading right towards them, would you stand back and go, I don't believe that's going to happen? Nah. Or would you run out there, or would you scream out and say, hey, it's coming? You would alert them. You would warn them. And that's what the Apostle Paul is telling the church. We need to be alert. We need to be speaking out. We need to be sober. We need to be, the word sober here has nothing to do with alcohol, by the way. It means to be discreet. In other words, we need to be able to pick out what's right and what's wrong. And not be like the unbelievers. Because the unbelievers are going to be there going, oh, everything is nice. Everything is peaceful. Oh, this is so nice. No longer are there Christians here bugging the daylights out of me. But we, the church, have a mission until Jesus comes. And that mission is to be alert. In other words, to be warning, to be standing, to be on guard. And it's to be sober. We need to be discreet. We need to say, this is right, this is wrong. And then the Apostle Paul ends verse number 6 and tells us that, he ends verse number 6 with being sober. That is the charge of the church right now. God bless you. Join us again next week.